Music has a lot of power. This piece as a whole always reminds me of a happy, playful time with its fun refrain. In direct contrast, the themes of this rondo from the Stamets Viola Concerto explore moments of sadness and transient melancholy, but they're quickly eclipsed by the upbeat nature of the repeated refrain. That's a lot to experience in an excerpt of music that lasted for less than a minute. It has a much larger effect on the musician than just the ability to explore these extraordinary ranges of emotions for a few minutes at a time. Music and playing music for a long period of time has been shown to scientifically affect a musician's fundamental ability to process information and communicate. There have been countless studies conducted on the neurological effects of music on those who listen to or play it for extended periods of time. In 2010, Northwestern University published a data-driven review of research from labs across the world on the effects of playing an instrument on the human brain. The majority of this research came to the conclusion that musical training has a significant effect on the function and development of the human brain. A term highly important to this process is synaptic plasticity, which is alternatively referred to as neuroplasticity. This model of the human brain refers to the fundamental ability of the brain, neuro, to adapt and change, plastic, as a result of experiences and training throughout the course of a person's life. Neuroplasticity is incredibly important to the way that we, as humans, learn and develop new skills. So what does this neuroplasticity look like in action? Well, musicians are forced to store incredible amounts of sensory and motor information and make split-second decisions that affect their coordination and timing with other musicians. These actions activate a much larger percentage of the brain on both hemispheres, resulting in an increased rate of connections forming. These connections allow the brain to adapt and change to run much more efficiently, thus demonstrating the effects of neuroplasticity at work. This has a long-term effect on musicians, with multiple studies concluding that children who were exposed to musical training at a young age showed much more success in verbal and nonverbal communication and had a much greater level of communication, verbal, vocabulary, and reading skills. Now, these incredible findings might encourage you to get on your phone right now and download a Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms playlist, but research suggests that the so-called Mozart effect may not necessarily work. A common misconception held by those who view classical music from the outside is that just listening to 10 minutes of Mozart can make me smarter. This assumption has its origins in a 1993 study that was published in the journal Nature. It concluded that after listening to a Mozart piano sonata, performance in a spatial reasoning test could be boosted for up to 15 minutes afterwards. This research was taken and quickly spread over the last 25 years as a method of making you or your child a genius by simply listening to a few minutes of classical music per day. However, we now know that that's false. A follow-up study published by the University of Vienna in 2010 performed a meta-analysis of nearly 40 studies from labs across the world and was not able to find any conclusive evidence that simply listening to Mozart was able to improve your cognitive abilities. However, all research does suggest that picking up and learning how to play an instrument is the most effective way to actively interact with music. In addition to the neurological benefits that it yields, playing an instrument also improves your patience and reduces stress, both of which are important factors in living a fulfilling life. I still remember the first time I heard the viola played. I was in 4th grade in the small music room of Normandy Elementary School. I don't know what it was about that sound or why it made me feel how I did, but I knew at that moment that that was the instrument I wanted to play. For the next 8 years of my life, I've used my viola to help me out of every single situation. When I have too much work, if I don't know what to do, or if I'm just not feeling great, I turn to music and the ability to express my emotions through it in order to guide my actions. Do any of you guys remember these from elementary school? And all the joy that came with this experience. These memories will last you a lifetime. How many of you in the audience play an instrument right now? And how many of you used to play an instrument, but eventually stopped playing? Now, if you remember all the fun that came with those experiences, you can pick those instruments right back up and make brand new memories. But if you're sitting in the audience, have never played an instrument before, and you think that it's a shame that you're too old to start now, there's no such thing as too late. You're never too old to pick up an instrument and start reaping the neurological benefits of creating music. So head on down to your local music shop and buy a keyboard. Invest in a ukulele. Spend a few dollars on a new one of these. Or, if all else fails, download Guitar Hero on your Xbox. Thank you.